Oh, there. Hello, good morning. I am so glad you're here today with me on this Saturday morning. It's nice to see you. Before I say anything else, Chukmung Happy Lunar New Year. Chukmung means Happy New Year in Vietnamese. Some of you may know that I lived in Vietnam for 2 years in Hanoi. And so the Lunar New Year is a really special time if you are from one of the countries that celebrate it. Growing up in school, you might have been told it's the Chinese New Year, which it is, but I believe 8 or more countries celebrate the Lunar New Year as well. And so for me, living in Vietnam, the Vietnamese New Year is what I think of. And just a wonderful, wonderful time. So if you're celebrating with your family today, I hope, thank you for coming to the live stream and watching. But I also hope that you have a really, really nice celebration and some nice downtime with family. Well, let's get started here. I do a live stream once a month, and it is Q&A with a teacher. That's me, Natalie. I was an elementary school teacher for 10 years. I spent most of that teaching kindergarten and first grade, but I've really worked in the upper grades, the lower grades, have a lot of experience. And of course, I talk with a lot of teachers. So I'm here to answer anything that is on your mind. Chukmung Nam Moi, Mike. I love that. Thank you. So let me give you just a second. If you have any questions this morning, I would love to answer them live. I do have some prepared questions that came in through my newsletter and over Instagram in the past week. But please feel free to interact with the chat. Be here with me this morning. Let me just pull up one thing here on my notes. Okay. Well, so if you are new to Primary Focus is my business, and it is really born out of passion. I'm sorry, I'm looking at like 2 views of myself right now, and I need to get my life right here. It's a very interesting thing live streaming sometimes because you're watching yourself sometimes on a slight delay. All right, so Primary Focus is the Parent's Guide to Elementary School. It is a place for parents to get all their questions answered about school. And I share tips to help your children thrive and the perspective of teachers during tough situations. You can find me here on YouTube, of course, and in my weekly newsletter and on Instagram as well. If you're not following me on Instagram, that is a great place to get some tips. Of course, chat with me in the DMs if you need some help or support or have questions. And I post a lot of stories as well if you just want to kind of see my day-to-day life. And you can work with me directly. So something that I do, I love making the content. Equity in education is really important to me. I think it's important that we can provide free information as much as possible. But if you've got something special going on, you want advice that's really catered to what your child needs or your family situation, you can work with me directly. I work with families to solve problems that are going on. So maybe something is concerning you at school, you're not quite sure. You want to book a time with me, 30 minutes, an hour, and we can kind of just talk shop and figure out what your kiddo needs. If you think your child needs something a little bit more, I also create learning plans. Learning plans they're sort of like a la carte tutoring. So let's say you've got the time, you've got the energy to help your child, but you don't know where to start at homework time. You don't feel like you're being efficient, or you feel like your child needs something more and like you're not sure what that is. I will work with you directly and we'll make a learning plan for your child. So I'll take a look at their test scores. I'll take a look at their work samples and figure out a plan, a homework plan almost, where you can be working maybe 10 minutes a night or a few times a week on these specific skills. And then at the end of the month or a couple of weeks, depending on what the skill is, we'll meet up again, see how your child is doing, and then move from there. It's a really great option. And I would say also a lot more affordable than tutoring as well. So again, we've got the chat box here. If you have questions, thank you for joining me this morning. Find me on Instagram, Primary Focus. I've also got a buy me a coffee link here. So if I've shared something that resonates with you, you want to say thank you, you can buy me a coffee, just another way. I've dropped the link in the chat. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about what's been going on. It is early February, the 10th. January was a really great month for me. And that took me by surprise. I was not expecting January to be a great month. I'm pretty optimistic overall as a person, but last year, January was not a great month for me. I had built a lot of, professionally, I had built a lot of momentum, and January is a time where a lot of people that are business owners really see a dip in their performance. And for me, my YouTube performance kind of just halted. Things on Instagram halted. I wasn't getting a lot of like inbound inquiries. And so I was expecting January to be the same this year. And I was kind of bracing myself. It was disappointing last January, and I had to really like walk through that disappointment until things picked back up. So I was expecting that to be similar this year. I'm always looking for patterns in certain months, year after year, because the more you can brace yourself for when low times are, first of all, the better you can plan your time off, vacations and things, but also make intentional steps to help yourself behind the scenes. So I said, I'm going to enroll in a class, which I have, which is helping me just with marketing and getting stronger at promoting my business. But it hasn't. I've actually had some really great wins in January. Some of you may know that I was on the news this past Tuesday talking about 3 signs that your child may need a tutor. I've been booked to be on a couple of upcoming podcasts. And just like I spoke at my first conference, I spoke at Johns Hopkins. That was really amazing because I got my master's degree at Johns Hopkins. So for my first conference speaking engagement, to be back there was just incredible. So there were a lot of very unexpected wins, and it felt very nice. I know that some of you might hear me talk sometimes about being the sum of your parts. And I feel like all of these individual pieces and things that I've worked on and things that I've like taken a lot of time to invest in came back to me this January. And so it just means a lot, and it's wonderful. So I hope that you are having wins like that. Not every month has wins like that. So I'm very grateful when they do come. And if you've had a win recently, please put it in the chat. I want to hear about it. If you're watching the replay of this later, don't be afraid to comment what your win was, because I want Primary Focus to be a place where we celebrate each other too. It is all about those little steps, being a little bit better every day, improving yourself. So all right, well, let's talk about our first question. And this first question came in from a newsletter subscriber. And they actually, a lot of people in the newsletter will just respond to a newsletter when I send it out, but they sent me a special email and we got to chit-chatting. So if you're watching, here comes the answer to your question. They said, it is the halfway point in the year. My child's teacher doesn't seem to be doing parent-teacher conferences right now. How can I make sure my child is on track in school? And I don't know if this is, I'm going to answer this generally, but this person's child is in 3rd grade, just about to turn 9 years old. This is a really great time of year to be thinking that. Mid-year testing is wrapping up. So some schools will start this in December. A lot of schools are doing this January, February, but either way, it is a long process. And so I think you should be thinking about how is your child doing. Every school system is different. There are some schools that require middle of year conferences. I know where I taught in the district that this person is working as well, there are not mandatory parent-teacher conferences in the middle of the year. This particular district does them all at the beginning of the year, September, October, and then anything after that is on an as-needed basis. And so having taught in this district, I can agree parent-teacher conferences are extremely time consuming. And in this time of year, there are not work days or like time set aside to complete parent-teacher conferences. Teachers are also very busy because all of this data came back. They are planning, and like it's essentially like a mid-year reset. Like all the kids need a different approach now that we understand how they're doing. So the teacher is doing a lot of work behind the scenes right now to set their kids up for success for the rest of the year. And for you as a parent, that's probably very frustrating, because wouldn't it be nice if if you got to hear what's going on with your child and it wasn't just like a quick report card comment, which can sometimes feel a little generic, I understand. So you may not get your conference this time of year. You can always ask for a conference, and I would imagine the teacher may try to keep this over email or turn this into a phone call instead of like a full-fledged come in, let's talk for 20 minutes. And the reason for that is this is also a time of year where there probably are children that are we are discovering more severe needs for certain kids, and those children will probably all need a conference, and it might even be a conference with multiple people. The special education teacher, the English language teacher, maybe the principal, the dean of students. Like a lot of those meetings involve like at least 3 adults in the room or more. So anyway, that might be why you're not getting a conference, and I don't want you to feel bad about that. It's just sometimes how the system is set up, it is hard to give extra personal attention. But what I want to suggest to you is to read the progress report and the report card carefully, and also really read any emails and anything that are nudges. Sometimes it can be subtle. You may miss the signs of what the teacher is saying. But if you are getting messaging back like, hey, you should really be practicing this, or like you're seeing like things dipping in the test scores, maybe you're seeing things improving, those are going to be your signs. So take a look at the hints that you already have, the paperwork that is coming in, because you might get some of your answers there. But something that I really commonly received was an email from parents saying like, hey, we got the report card. I just want a little more information. Can you share with me like any areas that they are doing well and any areas we can improve on? We really want to stay on top of anything, anywhere that they need improvement. If you feel like your child is doing well, you could even say like, is there anything coming up soon that I can prepare my child for? Is there, I think a great question to ask the teacher is asking like what are some of the more difficult concepts that you'll cover this year? Especially I think the math, and this child's in 3rd grade, the math starts to get more difficult. You're looking at testing strategy. Those are all like little things that you can help with, things that I can help with too if you want to get a learning plan going. If you feel like the teacher isn't that worried but you want to stay ahead of things, I can absolutely help with that kind of thing. So don't be afraid if the teacher's worried about having a conference. See if you can get some answers over email. I think those are very simple questions you can ask. How are they doing? What's coming up next? What can I be doing? And if you feel like you need a little bit more, reach out to me and I will help you out. Just checking the chat box here. I see we've got a couple people watching with us. Good morning. Hello. Don't be afraid to ask a question in the chat box. I do have some things planned, but I love answering these questions live as well. Before we move on to our next topic, I wanted to talk to you about my newest obsession, Llama Naturals vitamins. This is cold and flu season, you guys, and Llama Naturals is amazing because not only is it filled with wonderful vitamins, this is the daily vitamin that I'm holding up, but it's made with real fruit too. So I feel like I'm getting a little extra boost on top of everything because it's like, oh, just natural, this is the strawberry flavor, and the first ingredients are organic apple puree and organic strawberry puree. Hello, that's amazing. So I feel like it's that boost, but it's also really tasty. I was gonna taste and eat one of these on air with you, and then I did my sound check and I was like, this is not that kind of channel. I don't think people want to hear me chewing, but this is what they look like. It's a little gummy. It smells really nice because it smells kind of like a strawberry apple. Like if you've ever had like a fruit leather, like that sweet dried fruit vibe is kind of the flavor. I eat the adult strawberry. I did just get the cherry to try, so I will keep you posted on the cherry flavor. But this is my second round of the strawberry. I really like it. So let's get you hooked up here. If you use the code Primary Focus, you can get yourself 20% off, which I think is really good. I haven't tried it yet. I do believe that is not for your first purchase. Like anytime you want to buy these vitamins, using your code Primary Focus, you can get 20% off. That first link I sent is to the website. Primary Focus is going to be your code. They are running a sale through the month of February on Amazon with the elderberry flavor. So let's say you've already got a couple of vitamins going, you really like those, or you need those specific supplements, you just want something for the immune system. The elderberry is immune support. So they are doing a sale you can get on Amazon using this link. You need to use this link that I'm sending. They are on sale $19.99, and then they had an additional 10% off running, so $17.99. That's the kids that I sent you. Next up is the adult elderberry. And I will put all these in the notes when I'm done as well. So if you want to try out the immune support elderberry, there goes the kids and the adults links, $17.99, and they're running on sale $19.99 for the month of February. So give them a try. I really like them. Yeah. And thank you, Llama Naturals, for helping us out today. I'm kind of a reluctant vitamin taker. I'm really picky about it, and I've actually really loved these, and I think it is because of the real fruit. Alrighty, question number 2. This came from an Instagram follower. If you're not following me on Instagram, what are you even doing? You can get great direct access to me there. I've just sent my username, primaryfocus_ on Instagram. My question is, what are some reasons why adults without kids should consider donating and supporting children's education? And what recommendations do you have for where, when, and how to do so? So let me read that one more time. What are the reasons why adults without kids would consider donating and supporting education? And what are my recommendations to do so? This is a really great question. I love this. First and most simply, children are our future. We want to invest in them. You know, we're all sitting here, we're the adults right now, but like there's going to be a point where the workforce we are working in is going to be filled with the kids that are in school right now. Our kids in high school, it's not going to be that long. We're looking at the next 3 to 10 years. We're going to start to manage and work with and be getting support when we reach out to businesses from the kids that are in high school now. The kids that are in elementary school now, it might be later on in our careers, but we're going to start hiring them too. I remember when I first started teaching, I was in my early 20s, and a lot of my colleagues were, people in their 50s, early 60s saying like, oh, my daughter's your age. And so that point's going to happen to all of us. And what I would like to know is that those kids are well-rounded and well-educated, if you know what I mean. If you agree with me on that, definitely send like a little heart or another reaction in the chat, because we need to make sure that these kids are being raised right. And who can raise them right better than us? Nobody. I don't know what I'm saying. So that's what I think about a lot. And when I was teaching, things that I thought about a lot was like when I was teaching kids how to walk in a line, I was thinking, when you go to the grocery store, I would like you to be the person that can get into the line and is not messing everything up or like, cutting people in line and stuff like that. Anytime that I am out in public and something a little strange happens, I'm like, oh, I wonder if that person was taught that as a kid, or if there's anybody that reinforced those things. And so we can work together to do that, and supporting education is a great way to do that. So I think also if the, arguing for the future thing doesn't float your boat like it does me, it keeps you in touch with the community and with the youth. A lot of really cool things are happening in our schools. And it's nice to be a part of that. Something that I realized I was missing when I first left the classroom was that community feeling. I loved seeing just all the, it's more than kids learning, right? There's a lot of local businesses that are doing cool things. There's a lot of grants. A couple years in a row, actually got a grant from like a local pizza company here in Charlotte. They were Fuel Pizza, and they were doing a gardening program where the kids grew a pizza garden. So we grew oregano, bell peppers, tomatoes, like all those ingredients that go into pizza. And then we harvested the garden. We went to Fuel Pizza, and they made pizza with the vegetables that they grew. It was amazing. So being a part of that and kind of feeling that community is great. There are endless organizations that you can support. Find your passion. Is it education? Is it field trips? Is it school supplies? Working directly with kids. After school programs are a really great way to get involved, especially if you want to volunteer, but you are working full time, you have to do something after work. We want children to be supported. After school programs are preventing crime in our neighborhoods. It is making sure after school kids are supervised, they are safe, they are busy, keeping children busy with worthwhile activities is really important. And then, volunteering, if you've got time during the day, maybe you work from home and like your Wednesdays are more flexible, just email a school nearby, ask if there are tutoring programs or volunteering programs where you can come in. In Charlotte, Heart Math tutoring is really popular, and I do believe Heart Math tutoring exists in other cities as well. And that's like a 1 hour commitment once a week, and you go in and you work on math with kids. They give you all the supplies, so you don't even need to know about math. So we got to support our kids, support the future. Question. Let's see here. Before I move on to my next question, please, if you're watching and you've got a question, put it in the chat box. I would love to answer. I want to talk to you about my weekly newsletter. I'm going to drop the link in the chat so you can sign up for it. My weekly newsletter, I love it. I really do enjoy it. I feel like I've built such a nice community in the newsletter. People are often emailing back and forth with me about the topics that we talk about. The one that I sent out this past week was all about making homework time productive. So I was talking about the difference between giving your child help versus giving them time, and how to teach your child that. So I find a lot of people say homework time, there's whining, there's complaining going on. So I gave that perspective of a teacher about how I ran work time in my classroom and how you can model this at home for your child. So that produced a lot of fun conversation about how some of these kids are acting a fool at home and how we can totally change that. I would love it if you sign up for my newsletter and you could join this conversation, get these tips right in your inbox every Tuesday morning. You're going to find that at newsletter.primaryfocus.tv, or if anywhere you go on my site, at the bottom of every article, there are also sign up boxes at the end of every article, primaryfocus.tv. All right, moving into the next question. This one also came from an Instagram follower. My child, age 9, third grade, does not get along with one of their classmates. I wouldn't call it bullying, but it seems like they really irritate each other. My son says this other boy is always in his space, accidentally knocking things off his desk, and he's really loud. My son has snapped back at him a few times, getting some eyebrow raises from the teacher. Uh-oh. He tells me he knows the child isn't doing it on purpose, but he's getting so annoyed. How can I help him? Wow. Yeah. I would say this is a really common problem at all grade levels. Kids are, some kids are really aware of their space and keeping to themselves, or maybe are very particular about their space. Loud noises are bothering them, and other kids don't have a clue. And this is something that, like, as a teacher, you are constantly balancing and trying to figure out, like, what is the puzzle of how the kids are sitting together so that my kids that are particular can get their space, but my child that, like, maybe is a little bit of a hot mess is also getting to be included in a part of the class community. So I want to point out here, I looked in, let me grab it. I looked in my favorite book. This is Yardsticks. Yardsticks is a book that talks about child development from every age. I'm going to drop a link here in the chat if you want to get a copy. Literally every chapter is like, here's this chapter, 8-year-olds. And it goes through and it talks about, 8-year-olds at home, 8-year-olds at school, what to expect academically, what to expect for their physical development. So I would really recommend getting this book and reading one chapter every year. And then you can just kind of find out what's going on. So I looked in, this contributor said that their child is 9. So I went over and I looked at the 9-year-old chapter. And one thing that stuck out to me when they said it is that 9-year-olds can experience tension, restlessness, moodiness, and a preference to pick their partners at school. And so what that means is suddenly your child cares about who's sitting next to them, who they are working with, and they're going to get maybe a little bit moody about things. Maybe a little bit of tension is building. So I want to validate you here that the fact that your child has woken up and suddenly cares about these things is normal. It's normal for this age, and it's a skill that they'll have to develop. And this is a great time to teach them how to be particular about things, which they should be. We all have our preferences, but also maybe figure out how to handle these situations so they don't accidentally, keep snapping back at this child and making more conflict. So there's two ways that you could approach this. And maybe you need to do both things. The first is, I would say, talk to your child. It sounds like they sit together, your child and the child next to them. It sounds like they sit next to each other. They spend a lot of time next to each other. Explain to them how to ask the child before there's a problem, if they can be a little more cautious and respectful of their things. It sounds like right now your child is stuck in a cycle of reacting to the problem. Let's see if he can be proactive and try and talk to that child to the other child and say like, hey, do you see that, there's like a natural space here between our desks. Can you try and like keep your pencil case on your side and whatever it is, see if you can find a way to create that conversation ahead of time. If the child is being loud during work time, teach them how to say, I'm trying to concentrate, and practice this. Maybe role play it out together when the child is calm. If you're seeing this situation arising at home, maybe little sister's being loud, right? At home, maybe you can role play some of these conversations so that your child feels more confident going into class and doing this as well. The other thing I would do is if your child is really feeling upset about this, and this is like, I'm imagining if you're emailing in that this has happened more than once, maybe several times, maybe you could talk to your child about a strategy to personally and privately bring up this issue with the teacher. Ask him if he can give his teacher a note saying, I'd like to talk to you about something. Do you have time to talk about it? Teachers are so receptive to this. If he can bring it up privately with the teacher, maybe before there's a problem, the teacher can really listen to it. The teacher might not move him. You might be told no, but at least the teacher is now more aware, like, hey, there's an issue, and I've got a mature kid that really also doesn't want this issue to be happening. On your end, maybe if this continues going on, you could follow this up with an email and say, like, is there a way we can change desks, or can you like help watch this? I want my child to be happy in class, and I want to make sure all the other children are happy too. So a combination of those things might be really good to solve your problem here. And please keep us posted. I'm curious what works. But I think like any signs of communication, you really got to try and get on this when the problem isn't happening. Being proactive here is going to help everybody. Okay, let's see here. And my last question is, how was the news experience? And I want to thank my Instagram follower for asking me this question. So I was on the news recently. Let me see if I can get the link here. Oh wow, it's not like it immediately popped up when I went into my tabs. I'm putting this into the chat box here. So I was on the news earlier this week, and I shared about 3 tips, 3 signs your child may need a tutor. The show I was on was QC Life, which is the local morning news show here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was very fast. The whole thing. So I got in contact with somebody from QC Life. The scheduling was very fast. I was thinking I might have to, book a month out or something. And she said, no, like this is a daily news show. It is, we always need to be filling these slots. So we talked about what the best date would be, and we booked it for this past Tuesday. And then it was fast again when we got into the studio. So I think the entire time from the moment we parked to the moment we were leaving, and when I say we, my husband Mike came with me. Hello, Mike. 35 minutes. It was so fast, and that included the filming, everything. But it was very exciting for me. We got there, we checked in the lobby. There was another person there who was doing a segment after me. And then we went, I got mic'd up. It was so interesting because I had been watching This is where you're going to find out my type A. But I watched a lot of clips to, first of all, just kind of study what it looks like, but also see like the settings. I wanted to know if I was standing, if I'd be sitting, and so I saw that there was several different sets. There's a table where the two hosts or news anchors speak. There seemed to be a kitchen setup. I knew I wouldn't be put at the kitchen setup. And then two other sets where people tended to be interviewed, and one was sitting and one was standing. And so I said, okay, I'll probably be at one of these two sets here. So I ended up being at the sitting one. You'll see I'm sitting in a chair. When I got to the set, they're all in one room. It's like a giant studio apartment with those sets that I just mentioned, plus like a huge green screen to do the weather, and a kind of a sitting area where people who are waiting to be interviewed can be, or like if you're about to go on, you're off off camera. So that was kind of funny to see, like this huge area. And so, you're sitting there watching the Mary King, who interviewed me. She's talking, doing her morning segment with the other host, Kristen Miranda. They put me in a chair and I'm watching this happening, and then they go to commercial break and she just walks over to my chair, and then the next time people see her, she'll be there. So it's just kind of funny to see, like, she's like 3 steps away from where I am, but it's a completely different world on a different camera set. So that was very cool. The interview felt great. I was very proud of myself. I did practice for it. I spent time the day before, like just going over what I wanted to say, saying it out loud. It felt very funny to practice things out loud. This is a step that I often skip. But I think it was good because I felt a lot more confident. My concern was that I would get stuck on the wrong point and not finish out the interview. So I was really practicing on flow and making sure I didn't go off on tangents. This is my live stream. I am the star. I can go off on a tangent if I'd like. But when you're filming a news segment that's only a couple of minutes, you got to be on it and it's got to stay flowing. And kudos to Mary King, who interviewed me. She kept it flowing. I mean, it was very interesting to see how she was like creating questions and guiding the conversation and guiding how long I answered for each question, while also maintaining banter. She is very skilled, and I think that's got to be a very difficult job to do because they are on a tight timeline for that. So it was a really amazing experience. I wore extra makeup that morning, which is funny because I still think I look pretty natural in the interview. If you look at me, a couple of shots are like up on my face. I feel like I just look natural, and I have double foundation on. I have so much blush on. Like I had extra. Everything was amplified. So I was just thinking, when you see reality TV people and they're caked with makeup, like how much makeup do they have on? Because I was working with a lot that morning. I think my only regret is wearing black. I thought, as a woman, if you know, when in doubt, wear black. It works. It always looks nice. I think I looked nice on TV. No upset. I'm not upset with it at all, but I do think the set was very colorful, and the reporter was wearing a beautiful kind of orange sweater dress, and I just looked very, I don't know. I think I could have worn a brighter color to go with the set. So manifesting this now, when I go on the news again, you guys might see me in a color and not just in a black dress. But for what it's worth, I will be wearing that black dress again. I think it looks pretty cute. I was sitting, but it's a cute dress. I like it. Let's see, I'm checking here. I want to say thank you to everybody that has taken the time to watch this morning on the live stream. Please leave a comment like this. Your words matter on YouTube. So taking the time to watch this with me this morning, thank you. That is telling people that this live stream was worth watching. So thank you. And if you're watching the replay, I appreciate it so much. What I've really learned about YouTube is like, you can work as hard as you want on something, but it's the viewers that actually help decide if something is going to be sent out to other people to watch. So if you could throw a like on this video and go down to the regular comment box, not the chat where we're talking live right now, but the actual regular comment box, leave a comment. Why don't you tell me something that made you laugh this morning, or what you're up to this weekend? Just let me know. I'd love to hear what's going on. Of course, I'll respond to you. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter, of course. You can find me there. You can find me on my Instagram. And if you want to buy me a coffee as well, I'll throw that link. We've talked about a lot of things this morning. Go ahead and leave a comment telling me about you. I want to hear all about it. And I hope you have a wonderful Lunar New Year, Super Bowl, and pre-Valentine's Day weekend, February. There's so much going on. But all right, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.